Hello, and welcome to the Mediumship Matters podcast with me, Hannah Macintyre. And this is episode 1. I'm so excited to have you all here to join me on what I think is going to be a little bit of a journey. So as this is episode 1, I thought I'd start by introducing myself and tell you a little bit about this podcast and what my vision is for it and where I think it's going to go. So I've been working with the spirit world for about a decade, and they have completely and utterly changed my life. Everything is different for me as a result of that. But I wouldn't say that I was somebody that knew I was particularly connected to the spirit world or knew that this was going to be the way my life unfolded. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I got to be where I am on a Facebook page with nearly 20,000 followers and lots of interaction, lots of readings and things like that, because it wasn't always this way for me. And one of the things that I always hear mediums talking about, because I think, the public love it. We love to think that mediums are people who are specially chosen to do this kind of work, but I don't actually believe in that. I believe that we all have the ability to connect to the spirit world. We all have the ability to feel their presence, to get information and guidance that we need. It's just that some of us are better placed to be in the public eye and talking about it than others. We can all connect to the spirit world, but if you're not confident standing up and talking in front of people, then you're not going to be a great medium under that job title. But it doesn't mean you can't connect to the spirit world. So when I was little, I was just ordinary, a bit bossy, and I could hear things all the time. I used to have crazy dreams, and my mum was reminding me the other day that I used to hear people calling my name when we went out places. She took me to the doctor for that, but we never realised that it was spirit calling per se. We just thought that it was something wrong with my ears or something wrong with me, and I always had this sense of right and wrong, and I've always been a little bit of a stickler for those rules that I believe people should live by. Trying your best to be kind, trying your best to be thoughtful, trying to be positive. And when I was 10, 11, I used to stand up in front of my school and talk to them all about trying to be a better person, trying to be kinder, trying to think about other people, usually accompanied to the sounds of Michael Jackson, Heal the World, or Man in the Mirror. And, I just thought that that's what everybody should be doing. And I've always had a problem with understanding why people get so judgmental of others and why other people expect others to live on their terms only. And so that's always been a theme with me, but never one that I thought was particularly a calling. It's just something I've always felt that urge to do, always that something I felt the urge to talk about. And I will say this, I'm not entirely sure how likeable I was with my bossy standing in front of everybody, telling them how they should live their lives. I don't think it made me particularly popular with my classmates, but that's what I did and that's what I felt. And of course, as you get older and life becomes harder and you want so desperately to fit in, you become squashed, a smaller version of yourself. And so I spent a long time squashed, a long time trying to fit in with what other people wanted from me, what I felt like I needed to be. And it was only at the age of, 29, I think, when my friend got my grandfather through for me unexpectedly at work one day, that I started to open up to the fact that there was more. Not that I just hoped that there was more or that I felt there should be more, but that there actually was more. And it's a really interesting journey for me, because I've always felt like there should have been more. And when I was 11, my parents had to tell me about Father Christmas. I hope you haven't got any children listening to this. And I was so horrified, because I'd always had that belief that there was a presence watching. A presence watching that knew when you were good, a presence watching that wanted you to do better, that understood and saw the little things that other people didn't see and all the times that you tried. And it was so devastating to me, that revelation. Especially, I think, shout out to my dad, who used to put on the full outfit, and one night I woke up and saw him, and even though the beard was made from an unrolled roll of cotton wool, little Hannah still saw it as the real deal and felt that I had been chosen, because my birthday was Christmas Day. And then, of course, it wasn't just hope, it became fact. And so I always had that belief that somebody was watching, that somebody could see. And it was so devastating to me to find out that that wasn't true. So devastating. But actually, working with spirit, of course, I've realised that it is. It was just a different person. And you don't get chocolate and presents in the physical sense, but you get them in a much better love, metaphorical energy kind of sense, if that makes sense. Metaphysical, perhaps. So I've always had that sort of call and that drive and that feeling that, there must be more, even though it's always been slightly misplaced. And I'd love to tell you that I'm one of those mediums that could see spirit as a child, because that's what everybody wants to hear. But I have to be honest and say, no, I haven't. And so my friend got my grandfather through, and it blew me away. And it wasn't the sort of evidence of him and his life that blew me away, but I used to work at a music school, and I would spend the days on my own in an outbuilding, just doing the admin with nobody else around. And one day I'd been slacking off, surely not, but I had. And I was looking at the cure for roses. My roses had got covered in sort of like a black mould, and I was looking at the cure for roses. And when my friend got my grandfather through, one of the pieces of evidence that he gave her was that he was with you while you were looking at the cure for your roses. And when I said, oh yeah, what was the cure then? She went, vinegar. And I went, oh, and I swore really loudly, because I was so shocked. It was like an electric shock through me, that he had been there and he had seen that. We often think about spirit being with us for big things, but we forget that they are also with us for the day-to-day, the everyday stuff. So that was such a shock to me. And that's, in that moment, everything changed, because I no longer hoped, but I knew. I knew that there was more, and I knew that my grandfather was still around and still watching and still part of my life. And that was absolutely mind-blowing to me. And so I joined a spiritual development circle, which is a group of people getting together for the advancement of themselves, to connecting with the spirit world. And as somebody who teaches spiritual development, I'll say to you now, it's very much, I think, that spirit are here and able to communicate to us naturally. But we have to undo all of our conditioning and all of our doubt and all of our disbelief to be able to get to a place where we can work with them so easily. That's how I believe it works. And I joined, unfortunately, it must have all been planned, but I joined an advanced group with no experience straight away. And it was just nuts. There's no other word for it. We would sit in this wonderful lady's house with this group of strangers who I'd never met, some very earnest, lovely people. And we would just sit and connect to the spirit world. And there were so many nutty and crazy things that happened. I mean, my first week, you can imagine, you're really nervous, you've got no experience, no idea what to expect. And you go into somebody's dimly lit front room, and there's loads of people sitting on chairs who all know each other, who you've never met before, and you just sit in the energy of the spirit world. They open in prayer, and then you just sit. And you're sitting there, and of course, I'd love to tell you that my mind was completely blown and I was like, oh, spirit are here. But it wasn't like that. It was more like, am I imagining that? Can I feel that? Is anything happening? Oh, I feel a bit awkward. Am I breathing too noisily? Oh, I've got an itch I need to scratch. Am I allowed to scratch that itch? More of a human monologue than a profound and insightful moment. And one of the lovely men that was there said to me, when we were all sharing at the end, oh, my guide came round behind you and pushed you into the group. And I was completely freaked out at the thought of this energy coming behind me, who could see me, who I didn't know, pushing me. Were they pushing me because I was doing something wrong? Were they pushing me because they wanted me to be part of it? Were they pushing me, around? Was I supposed to feel that? And, it was very, very intense. And I carried on going for several months, and all sorts of crazy stuff happened. I can remember once the teacher just started talking, and her voice changed, and I was listening to the words that she was saying, and then I swallowed and, true Hannah style, choked on my own dribble. And I was trying not to cough because you're painfully aware that you're in a room with 10 other people and you don't want to disturb the energy. And I leant forward to get my water off the table to try and take a really quiet sip. And as I did, I just happened to look over at the teacher. And the teacher was, a white lady with short grey hair, absolutely amazing medium, amazing person. But where she sat was a tiny little shriveled up elderly black lady. And I went, oh, what? And I thought, I must be going mad here. So I closed my eyes, opened them again, and she was still sat there. And then it was a bit like, it was so surreal. Even now when I think of it, I can't really believe that happened. But I just kept rubbing my eyes like somebody in a cartoon and looking and still seeing that spirit guide there. I didn't know it was a spirit guide at the time. Obviously now I do. And that teacher was doing something that we call trance. And trance is where spirit guides or people in the spirit world come and blend with a medium's physical body and use their voice box to share messages, to speak. It's a really amazing thing to see. If you ever get the chance, you really should do it. But it was just so mind-blowing to me because of the physical change as well, not just the voice and not just the words. And that guide smiled at me and I felt like it was okay. And I just sat there with my eyes open in a room full of people with their eyes shut and watched that guide give that address. And it blew my mind. And when they finished, they just faded away. And then you could see the teacher once more. And I had no idea what had happened. No idea. And I said nothing. This is the funny thing. I said nothing in the group. And then I just rang my friend afterwards and went, what the expletive was that? And she was cracking up and explained to me what it was. But I still didn't feel safe enough to say what I'd seen. So it just blew my mind, And there were many things like that. And then for whatever reason, I decided that it just sort of fell away. It just wasn't the right time for me. And I just went back to normal life. I stopped attending circle and I just got on with my life. And then after about a year, I got an invitation to a beginners group with that same teacher and took that up. and started from the beginning, which was much more comfortable and made a lot more sense. And, I'd forgotten all of the crazy things that I'd seen. Or, you think if you had seen spirit like that, you would be sort of talking about it all the time and going up to people and tapping them on the shoulder in the streets and going, oh my goodness, do you know? But I just forgot. I put it in a box in my mind, not intentionally, just wasn't ready. And I'd been sat in the circle for about a year with that teacher when all of a sudden that box opened and I remembered everything I'd seen. And I went, oh my God, you, this happened. And she was laughing her head off, but it was just, it had just been tucked away because I wasn't quite ready, tucked away by me until I reached that point. And I think so often that happens in mediumship. It happens for people who you give readings to. You give people these amazing, mind-blowing bits of evidence and give it a week, and it's like they just can't process it. It's too much for them. And they forget, people forget. And that's okay, because if you're not ready, you're not ready. And it will come back to you when you are. But that's how it all started for me. And I've always had, really, I feel, since I started this journey and opened up to the energy, a really amazing connection to spirit guides, who are a team of sort of teacher-like energies that come from unconditional love to help you, to work with you, to guide you and support you. And for a long time, I did readings with spirit guides using oracle cards, which is how I always work. And I did my Reiki qualifications. I became an Azui Reiki master, which is a form of healing. And then angelic Reiki master, which is healing, but using angel power as well. It's mind-blowing, that's for another day. I'll talk about that. And I just thought that was my path. That was where I was going. I was supposed to be a healer, and I was supposed to be doing card readings and guidance from guides, and I still do, and I still love that, But in the last couple of years, mediumship and connecting to loved ones in spirit really came strongly knocking for me. And it's interesting, isn't it, how we hold ourselves back. I don't know when the thought occurred to me, but somewhere along the line, the thought occurred to me that because I had such a good connection to guides, because I had such a strong ability to hear those messages, that it was greedy or wrong of me in some way to want to do evidential mediumship with loved ones in spirit. And it's taken the spirit world quite a long time to be able to undo that so that I would be able to work with them in that way. And, we're all learning. All mediums are always learning. If you think you've learnt it all, prepare for the spirit world to show you exactly how little you know. We're always learning, and we're always growing and shifting and changing. And it's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful place to be, just learning and growing and shifting, but always in that love and that connection to the spirit world, knowing that there is more, and knowing that life is eternal. Not physical life, but the life of your soul is eternal, and the life of the soul of all the people that you love is eternal too. So it's brings me a lot of comfort, as well as being the most super coolest thing ever. So there's a little introduction to me. Over the course of this podcast, I'm going to be doing lots of different talks about all different aspects of mediumship, my journey. I'm hoping I can get some guests on to talk to as well, and just seeing where it takes us. So please do, if you've got anything you'd like me to talk about, anything you'd like me to explain, any questions you've got, you can email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. That's podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk, and ask them, and I will get round as many of them as I can, as well as me blathering on about everything that's that I want to say, because this is my space to talk. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to working with you on the next one. Thank you.